Hi guys, and today we're going to learn how to solve and graph inequalities with one variable the easy way. Let's dive in. Now before we learn how to solve inequalities, we need to review how to solve a simple equation. So let's try to solve x minus 5 equals 2. Recall that to solve for x, you need to use inverse operations to isolate the x on one side of the equal sign. Inverse operations undo each other. Also remember that whatever you do on one side of the equal sign needs to be done on the other side also. So x minus 5 plus 5 is equal to 2 plus 5. So if you add that, you should be able to get x equals 7. We're not ready to solve inequalities yet. You gotta learn the signs first. So we have the lesser than sign, the greater than sign, the lesser than or equal to sign, and the greater than or equal to sign. Now let's solve an inequality. The reason why I said that we need to remember how to solve equations is because solving inequalities is very similar. All you have to do is to pretend that the inequality sign is an equal sign. Still, you have to use inverse operations to isolate the variable. So let's try to solve x minus 5 is greater than 2. Use inverse operations to isolate the x. So x minus 5 plus 5 is greater than 2 plus 5. And you should be able to get x is greater than 7. X is greater than 7 means that the value of x must be greater than 7 to make the statement true. Now let's get to graphing. You can graph inequalities on a number line. Above the number line, draw an arrow that represents all the solutions of the inequality. Draw an open circle at the base of the arrow to represent greater than or lesser than. So that circle should look like this. So we have just graphed x is greater than 7. That's easy enough, right? Do you know that you could also graph the solutions of x is greater than 7 on a coordinate plane? Yes, you can. So let's try that one. Okay, so we have the y-axis and the x-axis. And since it is x that we are trying to graph and x is greater than 7, we want to draw a line across the x-axis. We use a dashed line to represent less than or equal to signs. So it should look like this. Okay, so we just graphed the line that passed through 7 on the x-axis, but we're not done graphing yet. To represent all the solutions to x is greater than 7, you have to shade the side of the line. You have to shade the side of the line where all the solutions lie. So now you could just use like a pencil and just draw a couple of squiggly lines, but for this case we're just going to shade the entire thing. So that shaded part and beyond is the solution to x is greater than 7. Now let's try a slightly harder inequality. Remember to use inverse operations to isolate the variable, and whatever you do on one side of the equal sign or the inequality sign, you must do on the other side. So let's try minus 3 minus 3 minus 4 is less than or equal to 5. Now there's a rule here, so pay attention. So when you get rid of the 4, you should get minus 3 minus 4 minus 3y minus 4 plus 4 is less than or equal to 5 plus 4. So minus 3y is less than or equal to 9. Now there is a rule. When multiplying or dividing by negative numbers, you must reverse the direction of the inequality. So you have to flip the inequality sign when multiplying or dividing by a negative number. And this applies to any inequality sign. So minus 3y divided by minus 3 is not less than or equal to, but now greater than or equal to 9 divided by minus 3. So you should get y is greater than or equal to minus 3. I hope you're following, because this rule applies to everything. Now we could graph this on a number line. Remember to draw the arrow in the direction that represents all the solutions to y is greater than or equal to minus 3. It should look like this. This time you use a solid circle. So the circle is not clear inside, it's colored in to represent lesser than or greater than. This inequality can be also graphed on a coordinate plane. The last time we graphed the line on the x-axis, but now the variable is y. So guess what? We're going to graph on the y-axis this time. Since it's greater than or equal to, we have to use a solid line to graph on the y-axis. So just like how we have the solid circle, we have a solid line. We have for the less than or the greater than sign, we had a clear circle, so we had a dashed line. So the arrow goes straight across like that on the y-axis. In this case, we also need to use shading to represent all the solutions of this inequality. So it should look like this. Okay? So there are key points to remember when graphing or solving inequalities with one variable. Solve inequalities like equations by isolating the variable. Number 2, when multiplying or dividing by a negative number, reverse the direction of the inequality. 3, when graphing inequalities with less than or greater than on a number line, use an open circle. Number 4, when graphing inequalities with less than or greater than on a coordinate plane, use a dashed line and use shading. When graphing inequalities with less than or equal to or greater than or equal to on a number line, use a solid circle. And number 6, when graphing inequalities with less than or equal to or greater than or equal to signs on a coordinate plane, use a solid line and remember to use shading. So I hope this video helped you a lot, and use these points, remember them, because they will help you solve any inequality with one variable correctly. Thanks for watching.